The S&Ps have gone higher into early December. Today's December 8th on Sunday. Starting this week, somewhere between the 9th and the 11th of December, we're likely to see a short-term high point. We were looking for 6150, 6200. Still may happen, but if it happens, it would be in the next few days. And we're looking for a bit of weakness coming in the second half of December, but not much. But we could see lower prices until January 5th, and then extending the upside into late January. Now, the thing is, I want to put some context around this because what happens after January could be very interesting. There are multiple cycles running in this market, and some of the larger cycles are beginning to show themselves. Ordinarily, they don't. Sometimes you can see a market rally a couple of years before one of the larger cycles turns. Now, there is one coming in April of 2025. Between now and April, there's still likely to be some kind of a correction. Our thinking would be that the first part of the correction will be minor in December, and the rally in January, in the middle, could be fairly meaningful. But between January and April, we may see a fairly decent break for a few months, and that isn't necessarily a bear market starting, but it is potentially a 10% or so pullback in the uptrend. And the reason for that is this 34 and a half year cycle is repeating really well. And what's really amazing about it, that particular interval of 34 and a half years has been repeating for about 20 years. Not day by day, but the basic swings up and down are there. And you can see in this chart, we've isolated a number of high and low points, 9 or 10 different high and low points, that the market has repeated what happened 34 and a half years earlier than that. The low, for example, in 1975 lines up with the low in 2009, okay? And so what's happening right now is there was a blip, there was a nice shakeout in the late part of 1990 into January of 1991, which has not happened yet. And if it lines up correctly, we'll have a high correlating to the July 20th high in 1990 and a dip down into January of 1991, which would be April of this coming year, to 2025. So we're looking for a potential kind of shakeout for a while, and then another rally after that. It's probably going to stay in an uptrend until late 2025. We're looking at August as a potential high point. So it's an interesting time because these cycles are all happening at the same time. You have what we've talked about earlier. We have the 49-week cycle. 3 times that implies there'd still be some weakness in December, and then a rally in January, and then lower. So that says the same thing. The 54-week cycle and multiples of that have been running upside down, and they also call for a low in December or early January, a rally in January, and then lower for a month or so after that. And then we have shown recently that on Friday, the December 6th, Mercury was combust and retrograde, which is often bearish short term. And we also have the position of the nodes is somewhat bearish for a month or two. If you look back 18.6 years and multiples of that, each time we've seen corrections, at least for 1 month, sometimes as long as 3 or 4 months, coming up. And that just happened on December 2nd. Also, what's interesting is Mars went retrograde on Saturday, and that is bearish also. And then it turns into a bullish aspect on January 5th. So there's a lot of things fighting the uptrend. The uptrend is still strong, and you don't want to go crazy going short. I'm not recommending that. But you might consider lightening up your position in December, maybe lightening up your position if it rallies in January, and then potentially buying back after a correction in the first in the March-April period in 2025. Okay, it's not a big warning or anything, but just to note, the market doesn't go straight up, and at this point, there's so many things that are turning, and some of them are turning down, that you should see some sort of a break in this upward march that this market has been showing. And we are going to be having our Trade Forecast Mastery Masterclass starting soon. If you are interested, see the link below.